Op sociale mediaplatforms vandaag de dag gaat kwaliteitsinhoud vaak onopgemerkt voorbij. Op Den krijgen gebruikers betaald voor het maken, evalueren en beheren van kwaliteitsinhoud. Contentmakers worden beloond op basis van de betrokkenheid en het bereik van hun bericht of opmerking. Contentbeoordelaars worden beloond op basis van de snelheid en resultaten van hun voorspellingen over welke content trending zal zijn of viraal zal gaan. Eigenaren van communities worden beloond op basis van betrokkenheid binnen een community. Kwaliteitsinhoud loont op Den.
What's up, denizens? We have ourselves another DENDAO meeting. It is another Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern. That's when we do this. If you're on the West Coast, it'll be about noontime. It is November 10th, 2022. Wow, rounding out the year almost, aren't we? So let's jump right into it. We've got Joe Dragon, founder architect of Dragon Chain, with us, and fellow denizen I Am For I Am, who you may know from the Wednesday show that I do, where we get on and yap for about an hour about wherever the conversation happens to go that day, whether or not it's on the agenda. So thank you for joining us, both of you. And let's talk about some governance stuff. Yes. First thing is we have an open commitment phase, so you can vote on layers. You can vote more than once. It just depends on how much lore you have. The lore is free. You get it just by using Den. If you want to dissect how that works, you can throw a question up in the Den layer, ask about it, and one of us will be happy to jump in and break it down for you. But basically, it's, the more you use it, the more rewards you get, and the more rewards you get, the more rewards you get. And there's even a case where the more rewards you get, the more rewards you get. So it's how it works. That's pretty technical explanation, I think, right?
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, that's open. Let's check on them real quick.
Yes.
If you go over on the right-hand side and click on that little circle with a checkbox, it'll bring you to the LCP contest that is open right now. There's a countdown timer at the top. This happens once a month. So this is how layers are created. It only happens once a month. There's earlier in the month, there's a proposal phase in case you have a particular layer you want to propose. And then we do this commitment phase where you go in and vote on it. The votes come from however many lore you have. That's layer ownership rights. So those are some of the rewards you get. And you can freely put those in and take those out of different layer proposals throughout the commitment period. And there's no fee involved with that. So even though they are ERC20 tokens, we don't, because of the way that Den works, it's awesome, and we don't have to pay the fees when we're doing it on the platform like that. That was just a brag, I guess. But yeah, do it. Make sure you've got some stuff in there. The winners are going to be, by lore, it'll be number 5 and number 13. Not number 1, but number 5 and number
Bag
13.
Holders. Bag Holders Unite.
Yeah, so if it were to freeze right now, it would be Bag Holders Unite and the vegan layer, which I think is what it was on Wednesday whenever I looked at this as well. So that'd be interesting.
And they're pretty close too, so there's a lot of it's probably gonna move. So
I'd be fine with that right now. There's I know I've been experimenting with cryptocurrency, like actively experimenting, I guess, since 2013. Right, I had kind of like finger on the pulse for a while before that, just forums and stuff. But that's a long time to be experimenting. So I got some bags. I could go in there and bitch about things that didn't work out.
Bag Holders Unite could be fun. Hopefully it'll, but probably the tags will be, I don't know this, but something about whining versus something about bragging, right? It's going to be bragging or whining. I'm sure there'll be a lot of Wojaks.
You could class it up. You could do some wine and cheese tags or something. I don't know.
I thought the tags would be like FTX, Celsius, Sierra's Capital.
Famous ones. Yeah. That's unrelated unrelated to anything with Den, of course, but that's, things are shaking up in the broader, the markets anyway, not necessarily the technology. I don't know if FTX actually used any technology related about blockchain, or if they just allowed people to give them money or something. I don't know how that worked internally.
I'm sure they used the client APIs.
Oh, they had wallets. They must have had wallets, of course.
Yeah, wallets and client APIs.
Since we're here talking about this, remember Hyperion Frequency, I think, mentioned or had made a suggestion about switching it down to a lower level of like number 21. Yeah. And Amanda reminded us of that to probably discuss and talk about.
Yep. Very true. So since we're talking about, and I'll quickly finish talking about the LCP thing. So it's going to be 5 and 13. And then on unique voters, the other category, it's going to be number 1, which is books right now. And then keep in mind that if you don't win, you can still pay a fee in Matter, also something you get for free just by using Den. You can pay a Matter fee to create a layer that is a runner-up. So the first 5 runners-up, you can pay a fee. That's spelled out in the LCP post on what those fees are. And then beyond the 5 runners-up, you can actually scroll all the way down to where you start seeing unique voters are 8. So down to Keto 83 there. Anything with 8 unique voters or more, you can actually pay a Matter fee. It's a higher Matter fee. It's 2,500 Matter. And you can pay a higher fee to get that one created too. Excuse me. And the cool thing about that, of course, you can always pay to create a business layer, but these are special LCP layers, which means you're locking in your maximum supply of lot, which, as a reminder, is whatever your lore is in there is how many lot you get. So there's
something I hadn't ever noticed is if you look at the lore ranking, so or sorted by lore, and like say if Hype Freak was talking about going to 21, right? It would be quotes, which does still have 21 unique voters. But check this out. This is super interesting. I had never thought about this. If you look through, you can see, like say from 15, artificial intelligence has 21, but then it drops down on real estate, which is a 16th, is 8. Yes. And in Australia is 16, and then digital nomad is 27. It's interesting when you get those bumps. Maybe that's some indicator that's a even though it's low ranked, it's something that you should pay attention to. I don't know.
I think what it indicates to me is that there's a whale in there, right? Somebody's got a butt ton of lore.
Well, in any of them that have the lower counts. So in the troughs would be where the whales are, because they're ranking higher, even though they have.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were talking about. Like in real estate, for example, there's 8 unique voters, whereas it's bracketed by artificial intelligence with 21, and Australia was 16, right?
Yeah, I guess frankly we should even show. It would have been easily done. I don't know if it matters that much, but it would be nice to see the breakdown average lore per unique
that would be denizen. It would be an interesting metric. Yeah, we've obviously got things to work on before that, but that would be an interesting metric. With Hyperion Frequency's suggestion, I don't know if it was. Do you remember what it was? It was something like, we have it here. Proposal to 7. Was it the number 7 and 21? Yep. So that's something that it looks like. Okay, cool. There is. I missed that completely. So what we got to do is we got to put that in as an actual proposal. I can do that. We vote on it, and then it'll take place next cycle. I'm sure it won't resolve. For this one.
I would propose, because it's 5 and 13. I would propose 8 and 21 because those are still the Fibonacci's, just to move it.
Okay. Keep it on a fib. Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
Sure.
I got no problem with that either. So duke it out.
8 and 21. Yeah.
Duke it out. Come to a consensus. Tell Hyperion Frequency that if he agrees,
yes,
we'll do it. So do you like number 7 or number 9? Hyperion Frequency asked. I think he liked number 8.
Oh, yeah, because 8's the Fibonacci. That's the only. It wouldn't matter really. It doesn't matter. 7, 21's fine too. But
all right, it'll just make you twitch less.
Yeah,
fits in the thing. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. The whole logo, everything, right? It's like
it is. You're right. I don't know if we ever even really talked about that, but the logo for Den actually has Fibonacci's built into it, the number of peaks, like what do you call them? Spines or
What's
whatever.
the it's the symbol itself is the phi symbol. It's
see, I don't know these things, man.
yeah. So we look at the logo. Do we have the logo easily accessible somewhere on the
Maybe.
screen?
Potentially, if you go to Den.Social.
1 second, it's coming, I think.
But yeah, you mentioned that before, but I never really like dug into it.
That was part of the thing, and I didn't know if any of the artists could do it, but like it, and this guy he actually almost gave up, but
it sounds like
it was awesome. Oh, it's right in the upper corner. It's like upper corner of the screen here. So you see the character where the tail is the bottom of it. Yeah, that's a Greek phi character.
Phi.
Yeah, it's in the upper right. The screen. So.
And so, like the number of what do you call those?
Now that I don't know.
Spines. Does that have anything to do with it? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's like not really no.
We could say it's 8, and then it would be.
You could say it's 8, but then it connects on the tail, which would be a 9th.
Yeah,
but they don't count because it's not connected. Or is it 2 peaks at the end, which would make it 10? We'll call it 8. It's at least 8.
It's mostly just the symbol, though. The symbol is the
okay.
thing.
Yeah, Hyperion Frequencies gift there has got me, memorized here.
Captivated. That was what we were staring at when we came up with the idea of like, whoa, dude, what if it was like a dragon, but it was like a phi symbol too?
Yes.
Yeah, that was where that graphic came in handy.
Yeah.
Well, cool. The more you know. The more you know.
All right.
So, it sounds like 8 and 21. I like the number 21 just because I'm a big old Bitcoiner, and I like the number 21, the symbolism of it. So that works for me. I'll vote for that. I'll vote for that.
Me too.
And then let us dig down a little bit too and get some of the like lower. So like now, right? What if that was now? That would end up being hot takes and
awesome. Quotes,
which I think was Bit by the Coin's proposal, and then quotes, which is actually quotes is great too. So coolness. Awesome. But that's not what we're gonna do this month.
At some point in the future,
the next cycle.
At some point in the future, we should do it so the top unique voters win, right? But then 2 other within a certain range, randomly selected by a future blockchain block.
That's not bad because you
randomly. I'm sorry, I missed that. Randomly selected by what?
By some future Bitcoin or Ethereum block.
Oh, yeah, because you can predict like, hey, right in the middle of our contest is when this Bitcoin block is predicted to hit. And if you do it right in the middle, that gives you some slop. So you can.
I'm even saying after the fact is like you. Just put your lore where you think it should be, and then boom, that one won.
Okay.
It's like, oh shoot!
That way you don't have it influence people trying to move it up and down in the list because you don't know.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
And be something to play with. Well, we're gonna do this first though. I like the 8, 7, or 8, and 21, whatever you decide, and then I'll vote for it. That'd be great.
Yeah, I do like the idea of using I've always sort of thought that using thinking of say Bitcoin, right, as like an environmental input, like on a sensor to make decisions, that kind of thing. I've always thought that was a fascinating use, just in general of it, picking something. And you use that in your in Dragon Chain's what do you call it, provably fair contest scheme, right?
Yep.
And then some other stuff that we've been working on. So, all right. So go get your votes in. You can move them around in there as much as you want until the timer runs up. And then once that's it. And you get your lot out of it. Over the weekend, after this, wait, hold on. So this has got 4 days. So we'll give a couple of days to get some, if anybody wants to create a fee-based layer, like a runner-up that didn't win, give some time for that. And then get them made. Usually it's the Monday after it ends is typically when it's been created. So what else we got? Agenda again. Let's go back to that. LCP server migration. So we I know that Hyperion Frequency brought up yesterday that some of the metrics weren't, or maybe the lore snapshot, like farming, didn't trigger after that migration. I don't actually think that we've had a chance to look at that because we've got a couple of other things that were going on, and I've been out all day today too. But yeah, so if you noticed that there was an hour or two of downtime, if you noticed that, for example, the lore didn't trigger when it was supposed to, mention that. Thank you. But that's the reason we were migrating one of the core components of Den.
Oh yeah, because what is yesterday night? Okay. Yeah, in fact, I forgot to even check the metrics after when
I can check it right now. Actually, let me look over here since we're talking. Is it okay? Let me check mine. I know that when I checked yesterday, it was not. So maybe that's changed. Let's see here. I got to change the shape of my browser window here. There we go. Payouts. So yeah, it's there now. So it looks like it must have resolved. Good. Very good. Speaking of payouts, we have gotten some initial work done on some mitigation for some of the behavior we were seeing that was manipulative and or detrimental to the platform. Some initial good results on that. There's more that we've got to do that'll improve those results. That'll make them more better. I think the next thing we're probably going to put in there is we talked about where right now there's a situation where if you get a really bad score on a post in a particular layer, it actually does affect overall for that day. All your energy is added up. So if you have like a super negative number somewhere, because you deserve it or because you don't, it'll end up canceling out an otherwise positive score on a different piece of content. So we're going to isolate that to where it only affects the piece of content that was severely downvoted. That'll help some things. And then, of course, the end goal is to have this stuff automated to where you have, if you go back a few meetings ago, we described where there's an evaluation reputation, an evaluator reputation, eval rep.
Yeah.
A system where basically we'll be changing the way people need to think about voting a little bit. But the idea is to give layer owners and communities the ability to decide what quality of evaluator they would like to have voting on content inside of their layer. And that's up to the individual layers and communities, of course, but it's a tool that can basically get out without pinpointing or singling someone out. You can just use behavioral criteria to say, all right, I just don't want people that always vote down or always vote up. Give me some people that sort of do a mixture of both. And I think that's basically the 3 phases there. So first one's done, second one's coming up, and then the next one, and then the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing. That's how it goes. Iterate, iterate, on and on and on. So cool, metrics are working. LCP. That's what I've got right off the bat. That's my monologue. So what else? What else you guys want to talk about here today?
I had a comment last week about just an idea, brainstorming idea about what if the DENDAO had created a bunch of layers as a test. Let's call them major metropolitan cities.
Yep.
New York, Chicago, LA, whatever, Dallas.
I was thinking about that a little bit more this week too.
And had some kind of mathematical matrix or whatever that would award lot to users that were consistently posting as a reward within those layers to eventually, so that the DAO would then, and I don't know if it would be the DENDAO that would own these layers, because maybe there's conflict of interest there or issues with, the regulators. I don't know. But would then ultimately move those layers into, shall we say, private ownership within those unique ownership of those. And then the idea being that maybe we could inspire more people to post, because either A, let's say they live in Chicago and want to talk about Chicago and might encourage other people to grow the DENDAO community, the Chicago layer and DEN as a whole. That was kind of my thinking. And then maybe, let's say that if I used to live in Chicago, I might post something like, hey, remember such and such restaurant on 8th and Broadway, blah, 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 blah. And, it might stir up more people to say, hey, yeah, this is kind of interesting. It might also encourage more people to post links from Den out into other spaces to attract more people into, say, the Chicago layer or the New York layer.
Yeah. I tell you I can tell you what I was thinking this week. I can't figure out which side of the fence I'm on that. At first, and I still do think it's an amazing idea because it gives. I brought up last week the Craigslist thing, right? Where if you go to Craigslist, you've got a bunch of major metropolitan areas. You can kind of get ballpark in your zone, and that's your spot. There's a chat room or forum in there, whatever. You can post stuff in there. And if you've never been to that site before, you can immediately expect to find your zone. Go there. There's a spot for you. That kind of thing. Which is really helpful, like for anybody who's new to Den, who may not know anybody on Den, to have a place that feels, at least is some like, oh, okay, feels like home. Or at least, even if I'm the first one here, you can go in and say first, I'm, that kind of thing. Here's what I love about Gainesville, for example. But then I was thinking also, like, that's the idea of the LCP was to only create layers as you get demand for them, which is sort of the opposite side of that coin. So instead of having a bunch of dead layers, which still exist, of course, the concept there was once there's enough demand for it, it'll get created, and then there's people that are there already, right? So I'm not saying don't do it or do it. I'm just saying that those are the two sides that I was kind of the angles I was thinking of it on.
It would be something.
I'm exactly torn in the same way. I'm not for or against this idea. It's just throwing it out there.
I would say if we treated it as, hey, let's say it's an open program, which would follow the same pattern that the business layers would, but instead of those, that the model is much like the roundtable, where Den doesn't own any of them, or DENDAO, but the program is there, so people can come in, and if there are enough people say, hey, yes, we would want to join this and do this, then you'd have to normalize it, but based upon the amount of activity every month, a certain number of lot would be created and awarded to the people who participated in that activity, who brought the content, right? Stuff like that you could do, and it would work, and it'd be different than the LCP because it would be a growing lot instead of static. That could be doable. You'd have to figure out how do we pay. How do you pay for the lore to do it? If DENDAO sponsored it or somebody sponsored it, it would work. I don't know, but that could work. And then the other side is which, frankly, I do think the more I look at I just looked at the metrics, and I made some matter from a couple of layers that I've not been in for a while, right? And so I'm like, I do think it would be better if the people who are actually posting the content and doing the things, eval, everything else in that layer, were the ones. If you have lot and you do the things, then you generate matter from that lot. Otherwise, tough, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I know that's also something Hyperion Frequency had brought up, which are like a lot of things, because that's the person who's got a brain and likes to use it and brings up awesome ideas. One of them was related to that. Basically, how do we prod layer owners to be more active, to be more involved, that kind of thing. And just to paraphrase what you were saying, I think Joe's talking about basically saying, hey, if you're not active in your layer, then your lot doesn't yield as much passively as if you were, active doing stuff in the layer.
Yeah,
whether that's voting or posting or governance or whatever.
I keep going into, I worry about, okay, how much will it take to make that change, right? But then when I thought about it, I was like, you know what? The simplest change to the algorithm, I think, will be the most organic. That is, right now, essentially, whatever the amount that is set for lot, if it's 5%, 10%, whatever it is for the lot, the owners. I think that the layers would still be broken down the same way. So you might have one layer that essentially generates 10 matter, another layer that generates 40, let's just say, right? that if you only have one person generating the 40, then they are really well rewarded with lot.
Right. Yeah. You
It'd
don't
be
have to
amazing.
change. You don't have
Yeah.
to change anything about except right now it's distributed evenly amongst all. One
Yeah.
lot in that layer is one lot in that layer.
And it should be the person who's doing the thing. So
But instead, it would be a modifying that to be okay, depending on your activity score or something.
the thing you'd have to figure out that I haven't thought about is if let's say that the three of us are lot holders, and Hyperion Frequency goes in and he makes a post. He doesn't hold any lot at all, right? So he makes the post. Other people go in and evaluate it, and that layer, the lot portion generated 10 matter. Who does it go to if none of the lot holders took part at all?
I see what you're saying.
Oh yeah.
I think it's sacrificed. I don't know, but
that's a good question. I would say it either does something interesting, either it does something new or interesting, or it just goes out evenly, because then everyone is evenly not participating. So
kind of like an anonymous posting.
Similar to that, yeah.
And it might even just go to maybe it would go to all of the participants instead of the lot holders in that case. I don't know. I don't know. That's who knows.
That's that's one of those things that's probably would be an edge case or whatever.
Maybe go to a boost.
There's a lot of those edge cases around.
Yeah.
The next item I had, if we can move on, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The next item I had was linking out from a Den post out into the world, and then now you're rewarded. And I hadn't looked that up on in the docs. I kind of felt embarrassed after asking that question, but hey, got it out there for everyone to see, right?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, don't be embarrassed asking. There's things I still got to go look up, and I've read the docs 3 times and still don't remember something, so it's fine. Yeah.
So I was just wondering, boy, that sure seems like a best way to generate more traffic to Den. By encouraging people to link out. And I don't know if that's something we want to go back and relook at, that reward system to try to encourage more people to and incentivize them to link Den postings of quality out into the real world.
Yeah, it is. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it 5% of the mining pool daily? I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
Well, there's a couple of things. There's I don't know what that number is that you're looking for, but the biggest part is like when there's an active boost put on something. Yeah, that's when there's really some rewards in there for linking out. Part of the point of Boosted Friday, so tomorrow there'll be a Boosted Friday. I think there usually is every week, and people can submit either their own or somebody else's original content that's been posted to Den as a way to highlight it and say, hey, I think this should be boosted. Bring attention to it. If you go in that Boosted Friday post in Den, those are boosted internally and externally, meaning the externally part of it is that there's more matter being added to that for linking outside of Den. And when you share it, you got to be logged in. You got to hit the little share button. But when you share that, it gives you a unique reference ID so that anybody who clicks on that is attributed to you. It's kind of like I forget what you call it, but a reference number. There's a name for it, but I forget what it is.
Referral code.
Referral code. It's kind of a unique referral code just for that piece of content and for your account. So like, let's say there's, 10 matter put on something for an external boost. If you get 2 people to click on it and I get 8 people to click on it, then I'll get
2/3.
Well, there's fees and stuff. So let's say that after the fees, it's still 10, just for simplicity. But I would get 8 of the matter. You would get 2 of the matter, right? And there's a little pie chart there, and you can see how many people participated in sharing it externally and stuff like that. So That's the main
And so essentially
way that those get valuable.
Minus that,
It's like
whatever
5
the
or
fee
10
is,
or whatever.
I can't remember what
10% for
the fee
something,
is.
yeah.
That you can get it all back if you're the only one that gets anyone to click a link, right? Which is interesting in itself too. So
yeah, the internal boosts is especially interesting that way, where it's kind of built so that advertisers think about writing a good ad, I guess.
Yeah.
So if you post a piece of content in the shoes layer about some shoes, right, and it's interesting shoe information for that layer, and it's voted up, then you actually get up to like 80 or 85% of your matter back as a reward for not being annoying to the community. But if the community doesn't like it and they vote it down, you don't get your money back. You know, like, thanks for the matter, don't do annoying ads, sorry not sorry, that kind of thing. So that's a pretty cool take on it too. I wanted to say, since you brought that up though, I got some data. Engagement 2.5%. There's the number you were looking for.
Yeah, that should be increased, and because that's site wide. So if you
that's
share,
what I'm talking about.
If you share anything, there's 25 matter up for grabs every day. So maybe that should be higher. Maybe it should be, 100 matter. I don't know.
It would also be useful, probably, to make a couple more little. We got some good videos, like ads and stuff, but to make an even shorter, like, maybe I don't want to do a TikTok video, but something in the vein of like a short informational. Oh, by the way, if you share this out, you get rewarded for being an ambassador of the platform, basically, because that's what it's like, an ambassador program.
Right.
But just the idea there is that, like, a lot of people don't even know about the different rewards pools.
Yeah.
Right. Because it can be a learning curve enough to figure out how Den works for a lot of people. So just highlighting that, these particular behaviors are rewarded. And that's kind of what drives the whole thing, is it's behavior based. Like, what is a behavior based system, except here's the behaviors, go do them, please. And so maybe being a little bit more on the nose about here's the behaviors we want and here's the rewards that are associated with them would be maybe even a good monthly reminder to put out or something like that, even just a post. But I wanted to say, since you brought that up, the Million Matter Mint rewards and stuff, that's gone out. It took me a while to get around to it. Sorry about that.
Nice.
But that's all been gone out, tipped out to everybody. Yes. So if you want to see if you were one of the people that got that, go look in your tips and you'll see one of them. If you got it, you'll have a tip, and it'll say in the notes, it'll say something like Million Matter Contest winner or something. Right? So that was all awarded proportionally to, there were two categories. One of them was what you were just talking about, with if you shared content outside of Den and you got referrals, clickbacks. That was one of the categories, because that's kind of like what we need people to do. Hey, here's Den stuff. Not even talking about Den, really, just sharing content from Den.
Right.
When people see it and they're like, oh, what's this Den thing? Get them to naturally ask the question themselves and investigate it. And then the other side was DENDAO governance. So went out to the top X number of participants and yada yada. So those are out, and you've got the lore to vote on the LCP, which was the important thing, was to make sure that those got out into the wallets for denizens to use the lore to vote on the LCP. So thanks everybody for doing all that stuff, and I hope you can use those to get the votes in that you want.
Another last item that I had that it was kind of one of those palm to the face. I was looking, I was thinking, wow, it's amazing we do not have an elections layer, even though we have a politics layer. And what's also amazing is we don't have a Ukrainian-Russian layer.
Oh, interesting.
And I was thinking, wow, talk about stirring the pot, creating a little bit of infighting and problems.
Like a forum.
More importantly, think of all the censorship that's going on with the Ukrainian-Russian thing, and I have so much.
Well, right now they're like all on Telegram
that I can't share elsewhere.
Right?
No. Would you back if now it's too late this month? But what if we did a the current thing layer? And
Oh shit! And it always
we
changes.
we just changed the banner. And
Oh, just change the banner. Yeah,
current
election.
thing.
Boom. And it,
Just whatever the current thing is.
Yeah.
it's too bad you couldn't change like current banner. I mean, current thing dash election. Current thing dash.
You could even like, I bet you could even automate that somehow by just checking to see like just trends on Twitter or some shit.
Right.
You know, like what the current thing
That'd
is.
be hilarious.
But I was thinking too, you know,
A dynamic,
there's so much, you know, censorship going on. Like for example, on the Ukraine-Russia deal, that there are other people that have information that would like to share it, but they're censored on other platforms. And what an opportunity to drive more people to Den. And like I said, it was like my hand hit my head and went, what the frick? Why don't we have an election?
Yeah, you know what's interesting about that to me, dude, is that there are places where it is uncensored and people are having the conversations, but it's all on something you got to have a special app for, and have an account, and maybe tie your phone number to it in the case of Telegram, stuff like that. But with Den, it's searchable, it's findable just from a search engine, right? So you could stumble upon the conversation just from searching the web, just the internet. You know what I mean? So that's not bad. That's not a bad thought. I hadn't thought about that, but I don't know what that would end up looking like.
Oh, it'd be fireworks.
yeah. But I've been kind of, I've been down in the dumps for a while now recently, just on a personal note, just about all the stuff going on in the world, including like the Iranian protests and like I keep an eye on like Session as a messenger kind of thing, and they're seeing and Tor and different projects that do internet access for people who are being oppressed. They've seen like people going out of the way to learn how to use these more safe networks and stuff because their government is literally killing them in a lot of cases. So I'm always like, if you want to chat about that sometime, I'm always down for conversations about how we could, just helping people live, human lives without being overly fucked with, I guess.
Oh, I know what the last item was.
And I wouldn't mind a marketing aspect either. Just getting attention on Den, of course.
The last time was, where do we stand? Where are we at now on the going back to the matrix and opening up going down to the next proposal? Where things stand right now?
All right, so that's admittedly going a little bit slow. There's a lot of things, including that migration that we just completed. There's a lot of other things going on too that, like, sometimes it seems like everything is priority, and then sometimes there's all the time in the world, right? If you look at the last year, there was a proposal that took like 3 or 4 months to get done, and then the next one took like 2 weeks, right? And I think that was actually a more complex one, but it still took less time.
Sure.
And without going into talking about all the sort of unrelated things to that we're working on, there's a crunch right now where there's a lot of things that just need to get done now, and so it's going slow. There aren't enough threads to process it at the same time. So we have the initial work that was done that was focused more on what I would call sock puppet botnet type activity. Next is the should be pretty quick once we get into it, probably next week if I had to give an estimate, where we isolate the impact of overly negative energy on an evaluation. What I was talking about earlier, where you get negative 5,000 here and you get positive 2,500 over here. The negative 5,000 in the all layer doesn't cancel out the positive 2,500 in the motorcycles layer, kind of thing, right? So we're making it to where it just stops it there, doesn't spill over, and then after that we can do the bands where we have a reputation system where the layer owners can actually go in individually and pick a reputation threshold where everybody gets a reputation. And then we can go back to where we're finishing up the leaderboard that we broke off from before. So that's without giving any hard timelines. That's the sort of order of operations. I think we can get next week. We can get the isolated evaluation done. But I'm not gonna like
promise.
I'm not going to take a penalty for that if we slip
I'm
on
hoping.
it.
Yeah, there's so many things because when we're in there too, we might want to throw out some quick proposals for change. If we're in that code, to say, hey, would we want to do that lot restriction? Maybe we should vote on those things right now to just approve those changes. That is lot would only be rewarded with matter based upon the lot holders' actions, right? So
that is something that we had talked about putting into this while we're making the eval rep change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was never talked about before. So if we want to do that now, we probably should vote on it.
And we vote on both those, maybe even the same vote, because they'll probably. I would assume I'd vote for them both. So they could be separate.
I think that period frequency would, because he definitely wants.
Yeah, I think that was his idea. It's freaking brilliant. So
yeah,
it's like once I got to thinking about it, it's like, no, I want that more than any of the other things right now, because it would actually drive people to action or not reward them. Either way.
Yeah, and it would drive up the rewards for people who were participating.
Yep, it'd be amazing.
Yeah, because that's what I kind of ultimately that's what I want to see is I want to see rewards go to who it should go to, like appropriately, with the least amount of bullshit possible.
Yep, exactly. That would really fix the lot side, and I would also be open to saying, hey, maybe we do a trial run where we increase the engage. It's called the engagement pool in the white paper, where for referral, the site-wide referral without boosts. Maybe we boost that as well. If it's only 2.5%, that's kind of low.
Maybe that's your answer, where you could have. Obviously, we only have 100% at any given time. So if we're adjusting the this is an engagement type of adjustment that we're doing anyway. It's an engagement for lot holders. Mm-hmm. So if we're changing that, we could even, in your example where none of the lot holders are active, then instead of going to the lot holders that are inactive, it could literally go to the engagement pool. And that engagement pool could be dynamic based on who's inactive. You know what I mean? Bingo. That kind of thing.
That's bingo.
So
because what you're doing is you're addressing the problem of inactivity by drawing more people to DIN. So it's kind of a double
organic
win. It's a double application or double solve to the problem.
I love it. It's double organic even.
GMO free, no gluten.
And I think that's where the boost goes right now too, right? The lost boost.
The boost goes to
the engagement pool. I can't remember.
It might. Well, there's a trending pool and an engagement pool, and I think it went to trending.
Maybe just trending. That's right.
Yeah. I think whenever you do an internal boost,
that's right.
This might be wrong. Right. But I think that if you do an internal boost and it gets downvoted and you don't get your money back, it goes to the trending pool.
That's right.
So that people who are doing legitimately good content that's trending just get more.
So and maybe we make the engagement pool 5%, and any lot rewards that are not eligible.
Qualified.
Yeah, they would just so essentially you could get, if you had, and that would be a beautiful thing, because if you had a very active layer, first of all, the people who but none of the lot holders are active. So let's say it generates a lot. That's a lot of matter that potentially could go into engagement for, hopefully those same people to be sharing.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that. 2023 being prime means that 2023 is a prime year for engagement. Engagement.
Well, you're seeing the collapse of the monolithic social media machine happening. The beginnings of it, and I expect it'll continue. Facebook just laid off 11,000 people. They had 87,000 full-time employees 87,000 people.
Were they really working as full time though?
And like, you know what? Maybe they
Silicon
were.
Valley
Maybe they
people,
were.
some of them.
But holy shit, bro! Like, can you imagine if we had the resources, what we could do here that they have? You know, that kind of thing. Which is always what makes me mad when they can't do something simple. It's like, okay, I get us taking forever because we're a small, you know, band of people doing the thing, but you got 87,000 people, bro. You know,
Like
so,
the edit button on Twitter.
So yeah, I think, you know, 23 will be interesting for sure because, you know, we'll see. Obviously, we'll see what Elon's doing with Twitter. He put out recently that they're going to do a bunch of stupid stuff in the near term, and they'll keep what works and they'll throw out what doesn't. But I'm optimistic that, like, if people want to go look for other alternative networks to go socialize on, by all means, publish here. Publish on Mastodon, publish on the BSV thing, publish wherever you want to go. But it's just like, it's healthier to not have monopolies and not to have, monolithic entities, echo chambers, that kind of thing. Yeah. Yep. I mean, you can have an echo chamber, but like, I don't know, like Den set up to have echo chambers if you want that. But
yeah, you can do that if you want.
You know, we can still share in the same.
Yeah. I wish there was more, a little more, like in politics. I vote up the posts I disagree with because I would like to see more of this than we see.
Well, right, and not everyone thinks that way, Joe. But I tend to agree with that because if I disagree with something, if it's not just like I'm not going to vote up something that's obviously troll bait or something. Right. But if it's something that I disagree with, I want, more than anything, I want it to be discussed because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the thing I disagree with is more compatible with my line of thinking than I realize because I just haven't thought about it. So yeah, vote it up because like nothing tears something apart faster than open dialogue, right? And you have a bunch of people with different opinions pointing out why they don't think it's a good idea or whatever. That's the best way to I don't know. Well, that's why we're the ones that are here because we don't like censorship.
Yep.
Right. Okay, so let us round this out. Unless there's anything else we want to talk about.
I just want to tell you I appreciate you both and everyone else behind the scenes. I really heartfelt gratitude for everything that you guys do, for the rewards that you are. Your activity and labor is providing rewards for others that may go unseen and unnoticed, but we notice, we feel it. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And
thank you guys for also always being here to participate because it helps a lot.
Yeah. Like we just saw, we just figured out a couple of things that would make an initial idea actually work in the context of what's being built right now. And we came up with like at least 2 good reasons to do it. So yeah, thanks all around. Pat yourself on the back. Let's go do the thing. And one of those things is to go vote in the LCP. So go do that. DENDAO, you got a DENDAO mug. I don't have a DENDAO mug. Oh, there you go. It focused.
It's kind of hard. Yeah, there you go.
I've got the Den one at the beginning of the coffee intro where it overflows and stuff. But I don't have the DENDAO mug. I might have to get that one.
These just came in, so yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, have a good weekend. I'm going to go ride out the rest of this small tropical storm. The power should stay on. We'll see what happens. Right. And have a good weekend, everyone. Stay safe, especially if you're in one of the areas of Earth that's just having a really hard time right now. Come tell us about it. Come tell us about what's going on. You're part of the world. We want to hear about it. And we'll see everybody next week. And go vote or go and put in a suggestion for the December World Blockchain Roundtable topics. Yes, because that's open too. All right. Right. So we'll see everybody next week. Tuesday, there is going to be an AMA with Joe and Super Happy Dragon Lucky. So go leave your questions if you have them, and he'll answer what he can about Dragon Chain and about Den over there on Tuesday. All right. Thanks, y'all. Have a good one.
Thanks,
bye.
Guys. Bye.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best
Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.